Welcome to online CAT class. Today's class will discuss MCQs on Mechanics 1. So first question, the velocity of a body in viscous medium is given by V is equal to A by B into 1 minus e to the power minus b by t, where A and B are constants, t is time. Then the dimensional formula for A will be same as that of velocity, acceleration, force, dimensionless. So you need to find the dimensional formula for A. So given equation is V is equal to A by B into 1 minus e to the power minus bt. Now if you consider this according to the law of homogeneity of dimensions, first thing, the exponent of this exponential function should be dimensionless. So b into t should be dimensionless. That means m to the power 0, l to the power 0, t to the power 0. So dimensions of b should be equal to, t has dimensions of time, so it should be t to the power minus 1. So send this t to this side, it will be t to the power minus 1. So dimensions of b is t to the power minus 1. Now a by b, this entire term is dimensionless. A by b should have dimensions of velocity. So dimensions of a should be equal to dimensions of velocity into dimensions of b. Just cross multiply this. Then dimensions of a should be equal to, dimensions of velocity is lt power minus 1, dimensions of b is t power minus 1, that will give you lt power minus 2. So dimensions of a is lt power minus 2. This is same as dimensions of acceleration. So it should be option B. We shall move on to next one. Dimensional formula of 1 by root of mu naught epsilon naught are same as that of velocity, acceleration, force, energy. We know that 1 by root of mu naught epsilon naught gives you c. C is speed of light in vacuum. So dimensions of c is same as that of dimensions of velocity. After all, this is velocity. So it should be option A. 1 by mu naught epsilon naught under root gives you velocity of light in vacuum. So 1 by mu naught epsilon naught under root should have dimensions of velocity. That is option A. Moving on to next one. De Broglie wavelength associated with a particle of mass m and energy E is h divided by root of 2me. The dimensional formula of Planck's constant h is. So de Broglie wavelength, let it be lambda. They have given it is h divided by root of 2me. Our intention is to find dimensional formula for h. So h will be equal to lambda into root of 2me. So now write the dimensions for this. So lambda is L, m is mass, energy is ml square t power minus 2. So this to the power half, this to the power half. So it will become L. So this will become m L t power minus 1. So it will be ml square t power minus 1. That should be option D. Or else you need not use this formula only. We know that lambda is h by p momentum. So this should have dimensions of momentum. So that is h by mv this also can be used. So H is equal to lambda mv. Now directly write the formula L m, this is L t power minus 1. So it will be m L square t power minus 1. This way also you can write. And another advantage here is H is universal constant. You can use even simpler equation like E is equal to H nu, or MVR is equal to NH by 2 pi. You can use N is constant, 2 pi is constant, they are dimensionless. So H should have same dimensions as that of MVR, that is angular momentum. So MVR is MVR. So that will give you mL square t power minus 1. This way also you can arrive at, or H is equal to E by nu. So E is mL square t power minus 2 divided by nu is t power minus 1. So it will become mL square t power minus 1. So in any way you can arrive at the dimensions of H. Since it is a universal constant, you can use any known equation to arrive at this. Yes, with that we'll move on to next one. If y is equal to alpha plus beta t plus gamma t square, where y is in meter and t is in second, unit of gamma is. So according to law of homogeneity of dimension, each term should have same dimension. So this is in meter means this is length. So this is also length. This should also be length. This should also be length. We need dimensions of gamma, unit of gamma. So gamma t square should have unit meter, same as that of y. So gamma t square has the unit meter. So gamma should have the unit m by t square. T square is measured in second square. So it should be meter per second square. That is option B. It's after all having the dimensions of acceleration. Yes, we shall move on to next one. In the gas equation, P plus A by V square into V minus B is equal to RT, where T is absolute temperature, P is pressure, V is volume. Dimensions of A are. Now we need to find dimensions of A. So for that, take this term P plus A by V square. This is what we have. So A by V square is added with P means A by V square and P should have same dimensions. So dimensions of A by V square should be equal to dimensions of pressure. So dimensions of A divided by dimensions of V square is volume. Volume is L cube square is equal to dimensions of pressure is m L to the power minus 1 T power minus 2. See, pressure is after all force by area. Force is mL T power minus 2, area is L square. So mL power minus 1 T power minus 2. Now dimensions of A should be equal to, send this to this side, it will become L to the power 6. So L to the power 6, L to the power minus 1, L to the power 5, T power minus 2. So that is option B. Yes, we shall move on to next one. If the units of mass, length and time are doubled, unit of angular momentum will be. See, angular momentum is mvr. So let us write the dimensions for this. Dimensions of L is equal to m L T power minus 1 L. So that is m L square T power minus 1. Now L is equal to m L square t power minus 1 it is. This is angular momentum. Now unit of mass, length and time, all the three are doubled. Then if mass is doubled, this will become 2m. Length is doubled, this will become 4l. This is doubled, so it will become 2t to the power minus 1. So that will make it 2 into 4, 8. This comes to denominator 2 into ml t power minus 1. L square, 4l square. So now it will be 4 times this. This is nothing but original L. So this I will call it as L dash. So if units of mass, length and time are doubled, then the unit of angular momentum gets quadrupled. It becomes 4 times. That should be option C. Yes, moving on to next one. Dimensions of gravitational constant g and moment of inertia are respectively. So for gravitational constant, take universal law of gravitation. F is equal to g m1 m2 by r square. If I solve for g is equal to fr square by m1 m2. So write the dimensions for each term. ml t power minus 2 for force. This is L square divided by m square. So that will make it m to the power minus 1 L cube t power minus 2. So this should be dimensions of g. Now for moment of inertia I is equal to m k square, where k is the radius of gyration. So if you replace each term by its dimensions, so this should be m, this should be L. Square is there, so square. So it should be ml square. So m to the power minus 1 L cube t to the power minus 2 and ml square. So it should be option B. So it is option B. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Given force is equal to alpha divided by density plus beta cube. What are the dimensions of alpha and beta? So first thing, force divided by density plus beta cube, that means beta cube dimensions should be equal to dimensions of density. This is first thing. Now this is density, this is density. Density plus density will give you another density. So dimensions of alpha should be equal to dimensions of, cross multiply this, force into dimensions of density. So directly you will get dimensions of alpha. This is ml t power minus 2. Density is m L to the power minus 3, mass by volume. So it will be m square L to the power minus 2 t power minus 2. This is for alpha. Now beta cube is density. So beta cube is equal to m L to the power minus 3. So beta is equal to, take cube root on both sides, m to the power 1 by 3 L to the power minus 1. So that should be option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. If force is proportional to square of velocity, then dimensions of proportionality constant are. So given that force is proportional to square of velocity, so F should be equal to some constant k into v square. So k should be equal to F by v square. We need dimensions of this k. So that should be dimensions of F ml t power minus 2 divided by dimensions of velocity L t power minus 1 square. So that will turn out to be m L t power minus 2 divided by L square t power minus 2. That turns out to be m L to the power minus 1. That is option B. Yes, we'll move on to next one. Which of the following is dimensionless? V square by Rg, V square G by R, Vg by R, V square Rg. So check the dimensions for each and every one. V square by Rg, if I take V is Lt power minus 1 square divided by R is L. This is Lt power minus 2. This is acceleration due to gravity. So now simplify this. L square t power minus 2 divided by L square t power minus 2. So that will be dimensionless. So what you get. Then check for the next one. V square G by R. So that is L square t power minus 2 from this. G is Lt power minus 2 divided by L. So this will turn out to be L square t power minus 4. So this is not the correct answer. Then Vg by R. That will be Lt power minus 1 Lt power minus 2 divided by L. So this will turn out to be Lt power minus 3. So this is also not dimensionless. Then V square Rg, that is L square t power minus 2 L into Lt power minus 2. So that will be L to the power 4 t to the power minus 4. So this is also not dimensionless. So only possibility is option A. And notice one thing, we know that angle of banking tan theta is given by V square by Rg. So theta should be tan inverse of this V square by Rg. So clearly this V square by Rg should be dimensionless. So from that also you can guess the answer. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Maximum and minimum values of resultant of two forces acting at a point are 7 Newton and 3 Newton respectively. Then smaller force is equal to. So let us say the two forces are P and Q. Maximum value of force is 7 Newton. Maximum value of force means should be P plus Q, that should be equal to 7 Newton. Minimum value is P minus Q, that is equal to 3 Newton. So add them, what do you get? 2P is equal to 10. So P is equal to 5 Newton. If P is equal to 5 Newton, Q should be equal to 2 Newton. That's from equation 1. So smaller of the forces they are asking, so it should be 2 Newton. That is option A. Yes, we shall move on to next one. The resultant of two forces 3P and 2P is R. If the first force is doubled, then resultant is also doubled. The angle between two forces is. See, we know that the resultant of two forces is given by root of a square plus b square plus 2ab cos theta. where theta is angle between the forces A and P. Now what they have given is A is equal to 3P, B is equal to 2P, and the resultant is R. So R is equal to square root of 9P square plus 4P square plus 9P 2 into 3P into 2P cos theta. So square on both sides, you will get R square is equal to, so this will be 9P square, 13P square. So here it will be 2 3s are 6, 6 2s are 12. So that will be root get cancelled when you square it. So this will be 13P square plus 12P square cos theta. So this is what you get. Now what they have given, when the first force is doubled, then resultant also gets doubled. When first force is doubled, it will become 6P. B is retained at same point 2P. Now R becomes 2R, so R square becomes 4R square. So it will become 4R square is equal to P square, that is A square, that is 6P, 36P square plus 4P square plus 2 into 6P into 2P to cos theta. So this is what we will get. So this will become 4R square is equal to 36 plus 4, 40 P square plus 2 6 are 12, 12 2s are 24, 24 P square cos theta. Now I'll rewrite that. 4R square is equal to 40 P square plus 24 P square cos theta. Divide through by 4, you will get R square is equal to 10 P square plus 6P square cos theta. Now R square is equal to this also, 13P square plus 12P square cos theta. So you need to find theta only. So substitute that, 13P square plus 12P square cos theta is equal to 10P square plus 6P square cos theta. Now P square can be cancelled through, divide through by P square. We are left with 13 plus 12 cos theta is equal to 10 plus 6 cos theta. You will get 6 cos theta is equal to minus 3. So cos theta is equal to minus half. So theta is equal to 120 degree. Cos inverse of minus half is 120 degree. So that is your option C. Yes, we shall move on to next one. The resultant of two forces, one double the other in magnitude, is perpendicular to smaller of the two forces. the angle between two forces is. So let us say first force is P, second force is Q. What they have given is one double the other in magnitude. That means first force is double the magnitude of second one. So let it be 2Q. Now resultant of these two is given to be perpendicular to smaller force. That means it is perpendicular to Q. So angle made by resultant with Q is given by tan beta is equal to P sin theta divided by Q plus P cos theta. See, angle between resultant and P is given by Q sin theta divided by P plus Q cos theta. This is equal to tan alpha. This is tan alpha, this is tan beta, this is other angle. So alpha plus beta should be equal to theta. Now they have given beta is 90 degree, it is perpendicular to smaller force. Tan 90 is infinity. So infinity is equal to P is 2Q sin theta divided by Q plus 2Q cos theta. So for this to be infinity, denominator should be equal to 0, that is Q plus 2Q cos theta should be equal to 0. So 2Q cos theta is equal to minus Q. That means 2 cos theta is minus 1, cos theta is minus half. So theta should be 120 degree. That is option B. Yes, we shall move on to next one. The resultant of forces F1 is equal to 3i minus 4j plus 2k, F2 is equal to 2i plus 3j minus k, F3 is equal to 2i plus 4j minus 5k is. When vectors are given in ijk form, just add the corresponding coefficients of I, j and k and add them. So resultant force should be 3i plus 2i, 5i plus 2i, that is 7i. Then minus 4j plus 3j, 7 minus j plus 4j, so that will be plus 3j. Then 2k minus k, that is k minus 5k, it will be minus 4k. That should be option C. This is the resultant. Just add the corresponding components. Yes, we shall move on to next one. When a force vector F is equal to I plus 2j plus k acts on a body and produces displacement of 4i minus j plus 7k, then work done is. So you know that work done is dot product of force and displacement. So force is given by this, displacement is given by this, just find the dot product. So to find dot product, W is equal to F dot S. So force vector is given, it is I plus 2j plus k. Displacement vector is given, it is 4i minus j plus 7k. Now just multiply corresponding coefficients of I and corresponding coefficient of j, just corresponding coefficients of k, and then add them. 1 into 4 is 4, 1 into minus 1, sorry, 2 into minus 1 minus 2, 1 into 7 is 7. So that will be 4 plus 7 is 11, 11 minus 2, that is 9 joule. This will give you work done. That is option A. We'll move on to next one. A vector 0.4 I cap plus 0.8 j cap plus c k cap is a unit vector. Then value of c is. So given vector is 0.4 I cap plus 0.8 j cap plus c k cap. That should be a unit vector. So magnitude of a vector, we know that it is given by root of square of the components and take the sum. So it should be 0.4 square plus 0.8 square plus c square. That should be equal to 1 because they have given it is a unit vector. Now square on both sides. 0.4 square is 0.16 plus 0.64 plus c square is equal to 1. So this will be 0.8 plus c square is equal to 1. C square is equal to 0.2. So c should be equal to root of 0.2. That is option A. Yes, we shall move on to next one. The resultant of two forces has magnitude 10 Newton. One of the forces has magnitude of 5 root 3 Newton and makes an angle 30 degree with the resultant. The magnitude of other force is. So resultant is 10 Newton. Let us say first force is P, that they have given 5 root 3 Newton. Angle between resultant and P is given, it is 30 degree. So you can write R cos 30 is equal to P. So 10 cos 30 is equal to 5 root 3 Newton. So other force Q, we need to find. Q should be equal to, if P is R cos 30, it should be R sin 30. So Q should be equal to 10 into sin 30 is half. So that should be equal to 5 Newton. That is option D. Shall move on to next one. Angle between the z axis and vector I plus j plus root 2 k cap is. So the given vector is I plus j plus root 2 k cap. So the magnitude of this vector, let this be some A, magnitude of this vector will be equal to root of 1 square plus 1 square plus root 2 square, that is equal to 1 plus 1 plus 2, that is 4, that is square root of 4 is 2. Now angle made by this vector with z axis is given by cos gamma is equal to, where gamma is angle between vector and z axis, z component, that is root 2 divided by magnitude of the vector, that is 2. That will be 1 by root 2. Cos gamma is 1 by root 2, so gamma should be 45 degree. That is option B. Shall move on to next one. A particle moves from position 3i cap plus 2j cap plus 6k cap to 14i cap plus 3j cap plus 9k cap. Due to uniform force 4i cap plus j cap plus 3k cap Newton. Find work done if the displacement is in meters. So what they have given? Force is given, it is 4i cap plus j cap plus 3k cap. This is the force. So original position, first position R1 is 3i cap plus 2j cap plus 6k cap. Finally it moves to other position, that is 14i cap plus 3j cap plus 13j cap, it is plus 9k cap. So displacement, let it be R, it is given by R2 minus R1, final minus initial, that will be 14 minus 3, 11i cap, 13 minus 2, 11j cap, 9 minus 6, 3k cap. This is R. Now work done should be equal to force dot displacement. So dot product, just multiply corresponding coefficients. 14, 4 11s are 44 plus 1 into 11, 11, 3 into 3, 9. So that will turn out to be 64 joule. That is option A. Sorry, it is option B. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A vector which is perpendicular to a cos theta I cap plus b sin theta j cap is. See, condition for two vectors to be perpendicular is their dot product must be equal to 0. Just try trial and error. So a cos theta b sin theta, this will be ab cos theta sin theta, this will be ab cos theta sin theta, plus minus, so these two get cancelled, this will be perpendicular. Then this one, it will become cos theta sin theta, this will become cos theta sin theta, they are added, you will get 0. Then look at this, this is in xy plane, I cap j cap is there, this is along z axis, so obviously this is perpendicular to this. So the answer is all of them are perpendicular to given vector. That is option D. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Three vectors satisfy the relation a dot b is equal to 0, a dot c is equal to 0, then a is parallel to. See, a dot b is equal to 0 implies a is perpendicular to b, and a dot c is equal to 0 implies a is perpendicular to c. So a is perpendicular to both b and c. Then a must be parallel to what? So a is already perpendicular to c, so it cannot be parallel to c. A is perpendicular to b, so it cannot be parallel to b. So these two options are ruled out. B dot c is not at all a vector, so only possibility is b cross c. So b cross c is a vector which is perpendicular to both b and c. Perpendicular to both b and c can be parallel to a. So it should be option C. Let's we shall move on to next one. Velocity time curve for two bodies x and y are inclined at 30 degree and 60 degree with the time axis. Then the accelerations are in the ratio. See, it is velocity time graph. So slope of velocity time graph gives you acceleration. So you need to find ratio of their accelerations. So acceleration in x divided by acceleration is y should be equal to tan of 30 degree divided by tan of 60 degree. So remember, tan of an angle gives you slope of the line. So tan 30 is 1 by root 3, tan 60 is root 3, that will give you 1 by 3. That is option A. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A particle moves along x-axis. The position of particle with respect to time t from origin is given by x is equal to b naught plus b1t plus b2t square. Then acceleration of the particle is. So to find acceleration, differentiate this equation for displacement twice. b naught plus b1t plus b2t square is equal to x. So dx by dt differentiate with respect to time, that will give you velocity, that will be b naught is constant, it will become 0 plus b1 plus 2b2t. This is what you get. Now differentiate again, you will get acceleration, that is d square x by dt square, that is equal to 2b2. That should be option D. We shall move on to next one. A car covers the first half of the distance between two places at a speed of 30 km per hour and the second half at 60 km per hour. Its average speed is. So you need to find average speed. So they have given first half of the distance is covered at 30 km per hour, second half at 60 km per hour. Then average speed is. So we know that average speed is total distance travelled divided by total time taken. Now total distance travelled, let us say half of the distance, let it be x, then total distance will be x plus x. Now first half of the distance is covered at the speed 30 km per hour. Time taken for that, let it be t1. Time taken for second half of the distance, let it be t2. Now this will turn out to be 2x divided by t1 can be written as x by 30. So distance by speed will give you time, plus second one is x by 60 km per hour. Now take x common in this, so you'll get 2x divided by x into 1 by 30 plus 1 by 60. So x get cancelled, it will be 2 divided by 60. So this will become 2 by 60, so that will be 3 by 60. That will be 120 by 3, that is 40 km per hour. That is option D. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A balloon starts rising from the ground with an acceleration of 1.25 meter per second square. After 8 seconds, a stone is released from the balloon. The stone will reach the ground in 4 seconds, begin to move down after being released, will have displacement 50 meters, cover a distance of 40 meter in reaching the ground. So the balloon is ascending upwards. So it is moving up. So as soon as it is released, it will not start moving downwards. So option B is wrong. Now we need to calculate displacement, distance, and time to reach the ground. So it is rising up with acceleration 1.25 meter per second square. After 8 seconds, by 8 seconds it would have covered some distance. So let us say when the stone is released at 8 seconds, the height of the balloon from the ground is h. H should be equal to half gt square. So that is equal to half into 10 into 8 square. So that is 5 into acceleration is not g, it is given 1.25. So it should be half into a t square. So this is 1.25 into 8 square. So that will turn out to be half into 1.25 into 64. So that will give you 40 meters. So this is the height of the balloon when the object is released from it. By that time, in 8 seconds, it would have picked up some velocity. Upward velocity of the balloon is given by v is equal to at, that is 1.25 into 8, that is equal to 10 meter per second in the upward direction. This is the velocity. Now, the height of the balloon when it is released is 40 meters. So look at the options. So displacement cannot be 50 meters. Height itself is 40 meters, means displacement will be maximum 40 meters. So will it cover distance 40 meters? See, the balloon, the stone is released from this. So initially when it is released, it moves up due to inertia, then it falls down. So distance will be greater than 40. So this is also not the answer. Only thing we have to find time. So time taken to reach the ground can be calculated using S is equal to ut plus half gt square. It is falling under the action of gravity. Now look at this. Velocity is upwards. Initial velocity is upwards. Displacement is downwards. So let us take the convention upward as positive, downward as negative. So the displacement is downwards, so it should be minus 40. That is equal to initial velocity is upwards plus 10 into t minus half, minus because g is negative, it is downwards, 10 t square. So now you will get a equation. Minus 40 is equal to 10t minus 5t square. So divide through 5, you will get minus 8 equals 2t minus t square. So I will rewrite this. You will get t square minus 2t minus 8 is equal to 0. So if we solve this, we will get the value of t. So t square minus 4t plus 2t minus 8 equals 0. So this will be t minus 4 plus 2 into t minus 4. So t plus 2 into t minus 4 is equal to 0. So this, if it is equal to 0, t is equal to minus 2, which is not possible. So t should be equal to 4 seconds. So it should be option A. Okay, we shall move on to next problem. From the top of a tower, a stone is thrown up which reaches the ground in time t1. A second stone thrown down with the same speed reaches the ground in time t2. Third stone released from rest from the same location reaches the ground in time t3. Then relation between t1, t2, t3 you have to find. Now for the first stone, see, let us use this convention: upward is positive, downward is negative. For the first stone, it is thrown up, so u is positive. If I write the equation of motion for it, displacement is minus h, where h is height of the tower. That should be equal to ut minus half g t1 square. So let us call this as equation 1. This is for first stone. For the second stone is thrown downwards, so displacement is again negative. That is equal to minus ut, because velocity is also negative. This is also negative, half g t2 square. Now multiply by minus sign, you will get h is equal to ut plus half g, this is t2, this is t1, t2 square. Call it as equation 2. Now let us add 1 and 2. Before that, for the third stone, displacement is h minus h, that is equal to minus half g t3 square. It is free fall, so h is equal to half g t3 square. This is it. Now add 1 and 2. What do you get? 0 is equal to u into t1 plus t2, then plus half into g, also you can take common, t2 square minus t1 square. So take this term to left hand side, to become half g into, just reverse these two, t1 square minus t2 square, that is equal to u into t1 plus t2. So you can write this as half g into, this can be written as a plus b into a minus b, t1 plus t2 into t1 minus t2, that is equal to u into t1 plus t2. t1 plus t2 get cancelled. What you get is u is equal to half g into t1 minus t2. Now substitute the value of u in equation 2. You will get h is equal to u t2 plus half g t2 square. So u value is what? Half g into t1 minus t2. Half g into t1 minus t2 into t2 is equal to, plus half g t2 square. This is equal to h. Substitute for h from equation for third stone, half g t cube. T3 square. Now throughout you can cancel half g, half g, half g, half g get cancelled. You are left with T3 square is equal to, this will become T1 T2 minus T2 square plus T2 square. So T3 square is equal to T1 T2. T3 is equal to root of T1 T2. That should be option D. As we shall move on to next one. A body released from great height falls freely towards earth. Another body is released from same height exactly 1 second later. The separation between two bodies 2 seconds after the release of the second body is. So you have to calculate the separation between the two bodies 2 seconds after the second body is released. So 2 seconds after second body is released means for first body, time of traverse is equal to 3 seconds. For second body, time of traverse is 2 seconds. So distance covered by the first body h1 will be equal to half g into 3 square. That is equal to, this will be 9 by 2. So 9 by 2 into 9.8. This is what you get. So h2 is equal to half g into 2 square. That is equal to, so this will be 4 by 2 is 2 into 9.8. So now difference is h, that is equal to h1 minus h2, that is 9 by 2 can be written as 4.5 times 9.8 minus 2 into 9.8. That will be equal to 2.5 times 9.8, that is 24.5 meters. So separation after 2 seconds is 24.5 meters. That is option B. We shall move on to next one. A body starting from rest moves with constant acceleration for 20 seconds. If it travels a distance s1 in first 10 seconds and distance s2 in next 10 seconds, then s1 is equal to s2, s2 is equal to 2s1, s2 is equal to 3s1, s2 is equal to 4s1. So it is moving with constant acceleration. That is what they have given. So in first 10 seconds, it starts from rest, they have given. Distance covered in first 10 seconds, let it be, they have given it is s1. s1 is equal to half a into 10 square. So that will be 100 by 250 a. So distance traveled in next 10 seconds is s2. So if I take s1 plus s2, that should be equal to half a. For s1 plus s2 total time taken is 20 seconds. So I should take 20 seconds now, 20 square. That will be equal to, this will be 400, 400 by 2 is 200. So it will be 200 a. s1 plus s2 is 200 a. Now s1 plus s2, subtract this from this, first equation from second equation, minus s1 is equal to 200a minus 50a. So we'll get s2 is equal to 150a, that is nothing but 3 times s1. And this is a standard result for a body moving under constant acceleration. Distances traveled in two consecutive equal intervals of time are in the ratio 1:3:5 and so on. Yes, we shall move on to next one. The graph shown in the VT curve of a car along a straight line. Choose the correct statement out of the following. Car accelerates, stops and reverses. Car is driven for total time of 16 seconds. Car accelerates at 6 meter per second square for first 2 seconds. Car decelerates at 12 meter per second square for last 4 seconds. Let us check one by one. So car accelerates, that is true. Stops, there is no question of stopping here. In this portion, velocity is constant. Velocity is constant but not zero. It is at 12 meter per second. So it never stops. So this option is wrong. Total time of traverse is 16 seconds, but here it is shown 0 to 9 seconds. So this is also wrong. For first 2 seconds, it has acceleration of 6 meter per second square. So acceleration is given by, for first 2 seconds, slope of the graph. Slope of this graph will be, this height is 12, this is 2. So 12 by 2, that is 6. So this is correct. Then it decelerates for last 4 seconds. So last 4 seconds means here deceleration is 12 they have given. So this is 12, this is 4. So deceleration is 12 by 4, that is 3. So this information is wrong. So correct answer is option C. So from the graph itself you can deduce all these details. Moving on to next one. A car moves a distance of 200 meter. It covers first half of the distance at speed of 60 km per hour and the second half at speed v. The average speed is 40 km per hour. Then value of v is. So total distance is given 200 meter. First half of distance is covered at 60 km per hour. Second half of distance at 40 km at speed v. Average speed is given 40. You need to find v. So we know that average speed is total distance by total time taken. So they have an average speed is 40. Total distance is 200 meter. Others are in kilometer per hour, so convert it to kilometer. So that should be 0.2 kilometer. Total time taken. So half of the distance is covered at 60. Half of 0.2 is 0.1 by 60 plus remaining half at v, 0.1 by v. So we have got the formulation. Now just calculate. So cross multiply this to left hand side. So 40 by 60 into 0.1, that's what you will get. Or you can take 0.1 outside first. So this is 0.2 divided by 0.1 into 1 by 60 plus 1 by v. So that will be 2 divided by 1 by 60 plus 1 by v. Now cross multiply. 40 by 60 plus 40 by v is equal to 2. You need to solve for v. Divide through by 2. You will get 20 by 60 plus 20 by v is equal to 1. So send it to other side. 20 by v is equal to 20 by 60 is 1 by 3. 1 minus 1 by 3. So v is equal to 30 km per hour. That is option A. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A car moves at a distance of oh, this is previous one only. Yes, a bus begins to move with the acceleration of 1 meter per second square. A man who is 48 meter behind the bus starts running at 10 meter per second to catch the bus. The man will be able to catch the bus after. So, bus is starting with acceleration. So, a man is 48 meter behind. So, in order that the man should catch the bus, the distance traveled by man in the given time should be equal to distance traveled by bus plus this 48. So let us say the man will be able to catch the bus after t seconds. So in t seconds, the bus would have covered a distance half at square. Man has to cover in additional to this a distance of 48 meters. This should be equal to distance covered by man, that is v into t. He is traveling at uniform speed. Now you need to find t. Half into acceleration of bus is given 1 into t square plus 48 is equal to 10 t. Now multiply 2 by 2, you get t square plus 96 plus 20 t. Not plus, it is should be equal to 20t. Now send this to this side, we'll get t square minus 20t plus 96 is equal to 0. Now we have a quadratic equation, we have to solve this. So t square minus 16t minus 4t plus 96 is equal to 0. So this will be t into t minus 16 16 and 4 will not serve the purpose. We need to take 12 and 8. So this will be t square minus 12t minus 8t plus 96 is equal to 0. So you'll get t into t minus 12 minus 8 into t minus 12 is equal to 0. So you'll get t minus 12 into t minus 8 is equal to 0. So t minus 12 is equal to 0 or t minus 8 is equal to 0. So t is equal to 8 seconds or t is equal to 12 seconds. So this is the condition for both of them to be traveling same distance. So earlier one is 8 seconds. So man will be able to catch the bus in 8 seconds only. That is option D. Moving on to next one. An aeroplane is flying horizontally with a velocity of 600 km per hour and at a height of 1960 meter. When it is vertically above a point A on the ground, a bomb is released from it. The bomb strikes the ground at point B. Distance AB is. So here is your aeroplane. It drops the bomb when exactly it is above the point A. Now due to initial velocity of the flight, the bomb will gain this initial velocity. It will continue to move with that velocity. In addition to that, it has to undergo acceleration due to gravity. So it will fall at distance B. So let this distance AB to be x. Our intention is to calculate this x. So this distance is given 1960 meters. So horizontal velocity is 600 km per hour. So convert it to meter per second. So that will be 600. Conversion factor is 5 by 18. So 1000 by 3 meter per second. So its horizontal velocity is 1000 by 3 meter per second. Now notice one thing, it is not moving in one dimension, it is moving in actually two dimensions. So horizontal velocity is 1000 by 3, but what connects vertical and horizontal motion is time. Time taken for the bomb to fall through this height 1980 meter and time taken for the bomb to cover this distance AB, both are equal. So let us calculate how much time it takes to fall through 1960 meter using h is equal to half gt square. So 1960 is equal to half into 9.8 into t square. So that will be t square is equal to 400. T is equal to 20 seconds. So it takes 20 seconds. So now let's check this once. 600 into 5, 3000 by 18. So divide it by 6. So it will be 1000 by 6 or okay, this should be 500 by 3. Not 1000 by 3, 500 by 3. This is 500 by 3. Now distance AB, that is x, is equal to this velocity 500 by 3 into time taken, that is 20. That will turn out to be 10,000 by 3 meters, that is 3333 meters, that is nothing but 3.33 kilometers. This is the distance covered. That is option D. Okay, we shall move on to next one. A machine gun weighing 10 kg fires 6 bullets per second, each weighing 30 gram. Speed of bullets is 400 meter per second. The force required to hold the gun in position is. So force required to hold the gun should be equal to rate of change of momentum of bullet. Rate of change of momentum of bullet will be equal to rate of change of momentum of gun. So let us say m is the mass of each bullet. So it should be v minus u divided by t. Now they have given it fires 6 bullets per second, each of weight 30 gram. That is 30 into 10 to the power minus 3. Final velocity of the bullet is 400 after firing. Initial velocity inside the gun it is 0. And this happens in 1 second. Now this will be 180 into 400 into 10 to the power minus 3. Now 3 zeros, this 10 power 3 goes off, so it should be 72 Newton. This is the force that bullet exerts force on the gun. So this much force you should apply to hold the gun in position. So that is option B. So we shall move on to next one. A ball moving at 9 meter per second strikes an identical stationary ball. After collision, each ball moves along direction making an angle 30 degree with the original direction of motion. Then speed of each ball is. So it's a collision in 2 dimensions. There is one ball which is moving at the speed of 9 meter per second. it strikes another identical ball here. So now there are two here. After collision, one ball goes this way, another ball goes this way. So this is the initial direction of motion. This angle is 30, this angle is also 30. Now, what is the speed of each ball? That's what they are. See, the balls are identical. That's why if this is of mass m, each ball will have mass m only. At the collision, this is after collision. Now they are making equal angles, means their velocities will also be equal. Now, let us say their velocities are v each. Now, according to conservation of momentum, the total momentum after collision will be, this will be mv cos theta in the direction of motion, this will be mv cos theta. And the components perpendicular to direction of initial direction of motion, if you take, they get cancelled, mv sin theta, they get cancelled. So this is final momentum, 2 mv cos theta, that should be equal to initial momentum. So what you can write, 2 mv cos theta should be equal to m into 9. This is initial momentum. Initially second ball is at rest, only first ball is moving. So initial momentum is m into 9, final momentum is mv cos theta. So theta is given, it is 30 degree, cos 30 is root 3 by 2. M gets cancelled. So 2v into root 3 by 2 is equal to 9. So 2 also gets cancelled. You will get v is equal to 9 by root 3, that is equal to 3 root 3 meter per second. That is option E. Yes, we shall move on to next one. Rocket works on the principle of conservation of linear momentum, conservation of mass, conservation of energy, conservation of angular momentum. So rocket principle is conservation of linear momentum. So this is a direct question. We shall move on to next one. The force exerted by floor of the lift on the foot of the person is more than the actual weight when the lift is moving up and speeding down, moving up and speeding up, is moving down and speeding up, moving down with constant speed. See, in a lift, when the lift is moving upwards, then apparent weight, that is force exerted by the lift on the person, will be equal to m into g plus a, where a is acceleration of the lift. When it is moving downwards, then w dash is equal to m into g minus a. So when it is moving up, weight will be more. So that means it should be moving up and speeding up. That is option B. During the downward motion, the acceleration will get subtracted. During upward motion, the accelerations get added. So remember, during downward motion, when A and G are equal, the body feels weightlessness. So that's how you can remember this. Downward motion G minus A, upward motion G plus A. Okay, we shall move on to next one. A person weighing 60 kg force is standing in a lift which is moving upwards with acceleration 4.9 meter per second square. The apparent weight of the person is, so it is moving up, so W dash should be equal to m into G plus A. Now it will be m into G is 9.8 plus A is 4.9. So 4.9 is half of G, so you can write it as m into 1.5 times G, because you want answer in kg force. So mg is actual weight is 60. So it is mg into 1.5. So that will be 60 into 1.5. So that is 90 kg force. That is option E. See here we have to do this because they have given answer in kg force. So 1 kg force is force exerted by a body of mass 1 kg due to gravity. So that's why we have to convert the acceleration in terms of g. So otherwise you can simply go for calculation. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A bullet fired into a fixed wooden block loses half of its velocity after penetration of 40 centimeter. It comes to rest after penetrating a further distance of 22 by 3, 40 by 3, 20 by 3, 22 by 5. So after penetrating through 40 centimeter, it comes to rest. So let us say initial velocity of the bullet is u. So let us use the relation v square is equal to u square minus 2as. So they have given, it has to be retardation, that's why I take minus 2as. They have given distance travelled is 40 centimeter. So v is half of the initial velocity. So it should be u by 2 whole square is equal to u square minus 2a into 40. So take this to this side, it will become 80a is equal to, this will become u square by 4, that will be 3u square by 4. 80a is equal to 3u square by 4. So this is for the first one. Now for the second one, if it has to come to rest, what should be the distance covered? So if it has to come to rest, final velocity should be 0. That should be u square minus 2a into, let us say the distance to be covered is x. See, notice one thing, it is starting from u and coming to rest at x. Otherwise you can use this way also. 0 is equal to, after traveling 40 centimeter, its velocity came to u by 2. So it is u by 2 whole square minus 2a into some y. Y is additional distance, x is total distance. So either you can go by this or go by this. So let us go by this only. So this is also not wrong. So 2ay is equal to u square by 4. Now from this equation, let us call this as 1. U square by 4 can be written as 80a by 3 so a gets cancelled. Now send this to this side. So you'll get y is equal to 40 by 3 centimeter. So this will, if you follow this, then you will get 2ax is equal to u square. So from this u square will be 80 into 4, 320 by 3. So 2ax is equal to 320 by 3a. A would have been cancelled. So x is equal to 160 by 3. Then additional distance is 160 by 3 minus 40. So I got 40 by 3. So this way also it is correct. This way also it is correct. So whichever you feel comfortable, follow that method. This is option B. Yes. Moving on to next one. In the figure shown, m1 is equal to 10 kg, m2 is equal to 6 kg, m3 is equal to 4 kg. Find tension in T2. So now 40 Newton force is applied on all of them. So acceleration should be equal to force divided by total mass. This will be common for all the three blocks. So substitute for this, F is 40 divided by M1 is 10, M2 is 6, M3 is 4. So that will be 40 by 20, that is equal to 2 meter per second square. This is acceleration of the system. Now you need to find tension T2. So tension T2 would be equal to, when you pull it here, then these two will oppose, M1 and M2 will oppose. So acceleration of this plus acceleration of this, force on this plus force on this will be equal to T2. So it should be M1 plus M2 into A. So that should be 10 plus 6 into 2. 10 plus 6 is 16, 16 2 is a 32 Newton. So that should be option B. If they ask you to find T1, T1 will be M1 into A. T2 is M1 plus M2 into A. Okay, we shall move on to next one. A block B is pushed momentarily along a horizontal surface with an initial velocity v. If mu is the coefficient of sliding friction between B and the surface, the block B will come to rest after time. So how much time it will take to come to rest? So block B will come to rest if applied force vanished due to frictional force acting between the block and the surface. So in that case, applied force F should be equal to frictional force. So frictional force will be equal to mu mg, that should be equal to ma. Since it is horizontal surface, it will be mu mg. So applied force is not mg, applied force is ma, where a is acceleration. So it is given that initial velocity is v. If a is the acceleration, then acceleration can be written as v by t, that is equal to mu mg, where t is the time taken to come to rest. So now mm gets cancelled, solve for t, t is equal to v divided by mu g. This is the time taken by the block to come to rest, that is option A. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A body is coming with a velocity of 72 km per hour on a rough horizontal surface of coefficient of friction 0.5. Acceleration due to gravity is 10 meter per second square. find minimum distance in which it can be stopped. So they have given initial velocity is 72 km/h. So coefficient of friction is given, it is 0.5. It's a horizontal surface. So acceleration due to gravity g is given, it is 10. So you need to find stopping distance. So if the object is on the horizontal surface, it is moving, then frictional force should be equal to mu into n. But here n is equal to mg, so frictional force should be equal to mu mg. So to find stopping distance, let us use this equation, v square is equal to u square minus 2a s. So v is 0 because it comes to rest, is equal to u square minus 2. A can be written as frictional force divided by mass into s. So what do you get? 2 into frictional force is mu mg by m into s equals u square. So m gets cancelled. S is equal to u square divided by 2 mu g. So now substitute and simplify. Stopping distance s is equal to 72 km/h means it is 20 meter per second. So it is 20 square divided by 2 into 0.5 into 10. So that will be 400 divided by 10. That's 40 meters. That is option B. So we shall move on to next one. A uniform metal chain is placed on a rough table such that an end of it hangs down over the edge of the table. When 1/3 of its length hangs over the edge, the chain starts sliding. Then the coefficient of static friction is. So there is a table over which there is a chain. So one end of it is hanging. So let us say it is uniform chain, total length is L, L by 3 is hanging, then remaining portion is 2L by 3, that is on the table. Now friction is preventing it from sliding. So when it becomes L by 3, the hanging portion becomes L by 3, then it just starts sliding. That means it has reached limiting friction. So in this case, the weight of L by 3 length should be equal to frictional force between chain and the table. Now frictional force on the table, so this is 2L by 3, so downward force is mg, upward force is normal reaction n. So frictional force should be mu k into n, that is mu k into or mu s into n, mu s into mg. So weight of L by 3, let us say linear density of chain is rho, rho is mass per unit length. Then weight of L by 3 will be rho L by 3 into g. That should be equal to frictional force is mu s into mg. M is what? 2L by 3 into rho into g. So this is what you will get. Now L by 3 can be cancelled, rho can be cancelled, G can be cancelled. What you get is mu s is equal to 1 by 2. That is option D. Yes, we shall move on to next one. A cube of weight 10 Newton rests on a rough inclined plane of slope 3 in 5. The coefficient of friction is 0.6. Minimum force necessary to start the cube moving up the plane is. So there is an inclined plane of slope 3 in 5. 3 in 5 means, so this is 3, this is 5, and there is a block here. You have to move the block up the plane. When you are trying to move the block up the plane, there are two things that are acting. If this angle is theta, then there will be mg sin theta in this direction. Mg is of course acting downwards. Mg cos theta in this direction. So normal reaction will be acting this way. So normal reaction will be equal to mg cos theta. Now notice one thing, in addition to this, when you are trying to move it up, then friction will act down. So there will be coefficient of friction also. So that will be mu into n. So force required to move it up will be equal to mg sin theta plus mu into n. But n is equal to mg cos theta, so it will be mg sin theta plus mu mg cos theta. Now substitute for everything. Mg can be taken out, so it will be 10 into, mg is only given 10, so it will be 10 into sin theta. Sin theta is opposite by hypotenuse, that is 3 by 5, plus mu is 0.6 into cos theta is, if this is 5, this is 3, this should be 4, so that should be 4 by 5. So that turns out to be multiplied by 10, so this will become 2 into 3 is 6, plus this will be 2 into 4 8 into 0.6, that is 4.8, so total you need 10.8 Newton. So notice one thing, friction opposes even when you are moving the block up the plane or even when the block is sliding down the plane. Whatever you do, it will oppose. So that should be option A. So that completes MCQs on Mechanics 1. Thank you.